What's going on? Guess what? Found another one of the lost files that the Google Drive actually coughed up. So I have another one for you guys. This one is one of my favorite lifters. A lot of you guys' favorite lifter, Mr. J.P. Price. This dude benches, 500-600 pounds, squats 1,000-1,100 pounds, pulls 700-800 pounds. Like he's just an absolute beast of an individual just walking this planet, man. And there's only a few giants that I know that move the kind of weight that he moves, man. So it's gonna be exciting for you guys to listen in on this one. This was right after I believe when he did the current open. So it's been a little bit, but like I said, these lost files, man, you kind of have to dig a little bit to get them. So I'm excited to be able to present this one to you guys. Dude, we talk about obviously we talk about training, we talk about lifting, we talk about the current, we talk about him, being on a wobbly stage with over 1,000 pounds on his back and then still taking it like a G. Of course, we talk music, man. He's definitely one of my favorites when it comes to music taste. He's a hardcore kid like myself, and he's coming at you all the way from Kansas City, Missouri. So I think you guys are really gonna enjoy this one because this is definitely one of the ones that I really really enjoyed. So with no further ado, I give you Mr. J.P. Price. This is the corner of the circle.
We'll get it rolling, man. I think we're live. Pretty sure we're live. And if not, we'll just I'll just have to call you back and we'll just redo another one. We're live, corner of the circle. We got the man. He's definitely no myth. He's a living legend. Mr. J.P. Price. There's only so much that one can interview and introduce and talk about his adjectives and verbs and nouns and things that describe this guy. Freaking 1,000 pound plus squat. There's legit a handful of people that can squat over 900, and even less of a handful of people of that handful that can squat well over 1,000 pounds. He's been the subject of a few, booty popping memes from his walkout with a 1,000 bands at the Kern, and you know what? Not a lot of people can hell. Not a lot of people can just even unrack 1,000 pounds, let alone walk it out. So again, I'm sure I'll just keep, blowing smoke and giving this guy, all the praise and freaking, pluses and pluses and pluses that he's due. Mr. JP Price, thank you very, very, very much for being on. This honestly means a lot, dude. I can say it's an honor, but I'm pretty sure I've said it already. But thank you very much for being on. So where are you located?
I'm in Kansas City, Missouri, up in the north side.
Ooh, KC. All right. Dang.
North.
All right. So I'm trying to think. I gotta
I knew
exit.
this area would be great for me because the school that I live closest to, their mascot is a lumberjack.
Oh God. So you're you're right at home. You're right at home. How
Yeah.
yeah, man. I had an old flame that lives in Kansas City. Oh man, those Midwest
I,
girls, dude.
I live right by the airport.
Oh man, yeah. She's she was from the area. She's not like from like Grain Valley, I believe. So I don't even think that's next to.
That's out in the country.
Yeah. So yeah, a little Midwest country girls. My weakness. Anyways, moving on. That's it. Man. So we'll talk a little bit about lifting, a little bit about just a little bit of everything, man. But I mean, a question I always want to know. Again, I know people get tired of me asking the question, but I always want to ask: when was it that you figured out that you were stronger? Not necessarily strong. I mean, people are strong, but when was that moment that it kind of hit you like, hey, I'm actually stronger than most people? Like, was it a
Uh,
young
it,
thing?
it was really early in my life, actually. It's kind of funny you asked that because I can look back and remember the first time people out told me I was strong,
Oh
and I
yeah.
was I was in fourth grade,
Oh
and
my gosh.
I was 9 years old, and I was at a football camp at a high school in my hometown in Topeka, and we were walking through the weight room, and they were talking about, because they were also trying to recruit people to their school.
Right.
And they were like, hey, here's our weight room. There's football players in here. And they were like letting us lay down on the bench. And there was one plate on the bar, and I repped it out.
Of course.
And I was just like, put it back on the thing. And they were like, you serious? Like, that's something that these high schoolers, some of them can't do. And I was 9 years old, and they were like, that's really good. And I was always a big kid, but I was kind of short. I was short and fat, and still am. And when I was about in 6th or 7th grade, I was short and fat and had no confidence. And I got into, my parents got me into working out. They got me a guy to work out with, a trainer that kind of showed me around. And so I went to this little gym in Topeka that I grew up in, and it was a privately owned gym that was like more of a bodybuilder's gym. And they let me work out there. They let me use machines from the age of 12 to 14. And then on my 14th birthday, they escorted me into the free weight room.
Oh.
I used to stand in the doorway and just watch.
Oh,
man. And there were police officers in there that were big, and firefighters, and a couple bodybuilders that I looked up to. And so my dad took me in there and taught me how to lift weights. And then I was a gym rat ever since. So when I went into high school, I could bench 225 and deadlift, or and hang clean 225 and squat 400 when I was 14.
Oh my God.
And then the next year when I was 15, in 9 months, I had a weightlifting class 3 days a week. Plus I was in there every time they let me be there. And in 9 months, I went from 225 to 315 on the bench and the hang clean. And then my squat went to 530 all in 9 months.
Dang.
And so that's when I was stronger than everybody. I was just genetically predisposed to being a strong individual. And part of that was probably being shorter, but I wanted to play football in college.
Right.
In order to do that, if you're not tall, you have to be very strong and fast.
Yep. I'm right there with you. That's literally speaking me.
That's what I had to do then. So that's when I realized I was way stronger than most people around me. So by my sophomore year of high school, I was the strongest guy in my high school. My freshman year of college, on the first day, I was the strongest guy there.
Jeez. And it's just kind of gets kept increasing over and over just over the years. So like you've always been a strong guy, so like I mean, I think that the thing that that I've always not necessarily wanted to know, but a thing that always intrigued me about like people like yourself and a lot of the guys and girls I've talked to is with the exception of a couple, most people you either are told or you figure out early, like so much earlier than people. I say the average Joe. I mean, there's a lot of guys out there that start later and they discover that they're stronger. But I found with a lot of you guys that that those champion caliber, those super elite level, those 1%ers out there that are just otherworldly strong. You guys found out early how much stronger you are than the average person, and it's just been kind of. Honestly, over the last, I want to say 8 months, it's been kind of cool. Just one, doing this podcast, but two, just kind of, seeing that pattern that's kind of like it seems to develop. Like it's not a strength to something. I mean, you can develop, you can get stronger, but it's this otherworldly strength is something that it's God given. It's it's one of those things that it's ingrained in your genes. So it's kind of cool. Of course, I have my nerd bud is we always talk about, well, we call it the alpha gene. There's some people that just have that alpha gene that I guess earlier in I guess our ancestors, we should say, that that you have those that your hunter gatherers, and you had your the what have you, all the different types. You have those that died off from disease. You had those that were killed off from
Right.
whatever was out there, and then you had what was left. And you start seeing a product of what was left in terms of the stronger, the faster, the smarter ones. And though you get a combination of those with a lot of people, it seems like a lot of the stronger people, genetically, you start seeing that pattern of, damn, dude, you weren't even in your teens before you figured out. I think I was like 12 or 13 when I was like, oh, I'm actually stronger than these guys. Mind you, I was the exact opposite. I ran away. I hated weights. I hated lifting. I hated anything. I just didn't like, I think I didn't mind bench pressing, but I didn't like putting that bar on my back. I didn't like the way it felt. Fast forward to present day, I absolutely love it. I feel like I don't get a decent session in unless I have some type of pressure on my back. My CNS feels like it's about to snap, but it's it's crazy to see how how that's kind of progressed. A thing that you did talk about like earlier was just how you didn't have a lot of confidence earlier. Now it kind of how your parents kind of got you in the gym to help with the confidence. That's I'm sure that like you said before, you work with some young kids and everything, and that's something that I've noticed at least with my little cousins and stuff. I feel like with my family we have a kind of a mixture. You have our little chubby ones, we have our tall skinny ones, and it seems like the little chubby ones. I was kind of the short thick one, like the husky one, right in between, and I never really had confidence issues, but I always felt for my my cousins that I grew up with, in the ones I have now, that that confidence thing, just based off of body image and body appearance and how people treat you. Tell me how, or I should say us, tell me how that that kind of affected you. Not necessarily the esteem issues then, but how your self esteem and all that, the confidence grew as a result of just getting in the gym and just kind of grinding out.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you're a little fat kid and I was decent at sports growing up, but I wasn't great. I was, probably chubbier and slower than most people. And I think everybody wants to feel good, right?
Right.
And my dad was an athlete, my mom was an athlete, and everybody wants to feel good. And it made me feel good to achieve things in sports.
Right.
So I knew to be better at sports, I had to lift weights.
Oh yeah.
And so I started playing football when I was 11, and I was good at that, you know.
Yeah.
And well, tackle football. So I played flag before that, but I was good at football, and so I wanted to be better at it. So I started lifting weights, and then I got into wrestling too. And wrestling's the one where in sixth grade I had no confidence. I was super fat, the singlets, my titties were hanging out the sides, and I didn't want to do that sport
Right.
anymore. It sucked. It was not for me. And then my football coach in seventh grade, that was the eighth grade coach, told us if we wanted to play football, we were required to wrestle,
Oh man.
which you couldn't do anymore. But we had 70 kids on the wrestling team, and I won the city championship.
Oh shit.
And I was like, oh, well, now I like it because I'm good at it. You're strong enough, you could, muscle people around and
Oh
get
yeah.
good technique. And I was always real coordinated. I roller skate, I inline skated and roller skated 4 to 5 nights a week and worked
Oh
at the rink from like 12 years old to 16. And I have to believe that's where my coordination and my hips and my squat came from.
oh yeah. I mean, I'm a firm believer. Like a thing that we always joked about. It's crazy. Dude, you're perfect. This interview is absolutely awesome. A thing we always joked about, but it always kind of held true, especially when I got to college. Was our linemen, our big boys had the best hands, and they always had the sweetest feet. And we never really knew why, but I mean, it was always one of those things where we'd have the specialty versus the lineman, and they would get us out in front of the punt machine, point that thing right toward us, like, all right, you got to run in place, do a seat roll, stand up. They're gonna shoot the ball at you, and even though we work with that thing every single practice, you get 8 feet in front of it. It doesn't matter who you are. That thing's it's coming out at a blistering speed, and they would always take our center, and they would take our nose, and they would take one of our receivers, and usually myself or another one of the receivers, and it would be 2-on-2, and whoever caught the most after the seat roll and everything, the specialty guys would have to run. We would have to do gassers, and obviously the linemen, they wouldn't have to. They'd get water. So we would do that, and no joke, I'd be falling all over, tripping all over my feet. Almost jam my thumb so many times, man, and our lineman would just boom every single time, boom every single time. And it's crazy that even it's honestly, it's kind of cool that you said that, because like honestly, in terms of just coordination, I don't think that they don't give big guys a lot of credit in terms of the coordination. I mean, they see you in terms of just like they're this big mass, not necessarily just on the field, but this big mass that's just standing in existence, and not necessarily that's all you're good for, but it's just you're this big being, not realizing that. I mean, it honestly takes, in my opinion, it takes just as much, if not, twice as much coordination to be a bigger guy and not necessarily do what the regular people do, but to be able to do it in an effective and efficient manner, because you're just so massive. Like that's kind of cool that you said that, because I was like, dude, Hell yeah, that's awesome. I mean, because like as you're talking, like it reminds me of my old workout partner. His name was Daniel Kelly, and dude, he was a big country boy. And when I first met him, like he was from Dawson, Texas, and Dawson, Texas is about this big around, and
Hmm.
and kid from small town Texas. He's a bigger kid, young faced guy, and I mean, you could tell he got teased a lot in school. So when we got obviously when we got to school, and he's rolling with us. I mean, I'm not necessarily the most confident person on earth, but I'm one of those guys like, what, dude, you're recruited here. You're amazing at what you do. You're a starter. You were all state lineman. So obviously, you have your worth. But I mean, a lot of times, he did like I did. I hid by like my complexion sucked like a lot when I was in high school. So behind a mask, I was cool. Like it didn't, you know what I mean? Like they just knew that kid could play football. That was it. And even it was even to the point where I bought. It's weird that I'm even saying this now because like I think back on it, and all my buddies always had the clear shields. I got the mirror shield just so they couldn't see my face. I didn't want
Right.
the news reporter zooming in and getting like all the zits and stuff all on my face. So
Right.
I'm like, hey man, I'm gonna go with the clear shield, and while it looked cool, I felt almost like Darth Vader, almost like invisible. Like you can't necessarily see me. While like I said, my confidence was never like super low. The lowest it ever always was is when my face would break out. So when you was talking about the confidence and all of that, that's just you know as random as I can be in this interview, like that's like you're saying a lot of things that they're kind of triggering like these old memories, man. So
Well,
when was it for you, after all the work and obviously being blessed in both football arena, lifting arena, and of course in wrestling, when was it that was there like a turning point where your confidence was kind of like, what, I know my worth. I'm not that guy anymore.
yeah, we had a little bit rough in our house when I was in middle school and like late elementary school and
Mm-hmm.
early high school. So from those years of like 11 years old or 10 years old
Uh-huh.
to maybe 15 or 16. And then it kind of got better at that point. But I had a lot of friends in seventh and eighth grade that were probably pretty terrible
Mm-hmm.
and getting in an excessive amount of trouble at that age.
Oh yeah.
Uh, and I was always a sweet kid and I was kind of tagging along for it, but I was there too and
Oh
making
yeah.
bad decisions with them. And it ended up being pretty scary for me. And I was like, well, I don't want to hang out with these people anymore, but
Right.
if I don't, then I won't have any friends.
Yeah.
But I was good at sports. And I was like, well, I want to continue to be good at sports, and I'm never going to talk to my friends ever again, and then I'm going to make new friends. And so when I went into high school, I went basically like with no friends. And
Jeez.
so then I was like, all right, but I'm good enough at sports, I can make friends.
Right.
And so I made friends, and I've always been nice and sweet, and like I've always just been that kind of kid. And I had a great experience in high school. I was in band, student government, wrestling, football. I was at school every day from 6 a.m. until 8 p.m. almost. And so I just got super involved in school. Like I hardly ever even dated anybody. I was just always
Right.
so busy with what I was doing. And I was the homecoming king at my school.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so I just was friends with everybody. I've always been the kind of guy where I've had a million like friends,
Oh
but
yeah.
nobody that I've ever been close to.
Right.
And that's always bothered me a little bit because I know people who I was just on a fishing trip with my uncle, and three of his friends that he grew up in elementary school were with him. I've not
What?
even talked to three people from my elementary school in the last 5 years.
Dang. Yeah, man. Like
So,
that's crazy. I
so I've
mean,
always just been close with everybody that was around me at the time. Like now, when I'm at the gym, I'm close to everybody there.
right.
You know, if I went to a different career, I'd probably be close to everybody there. But I never had those tight friends, and it's probably because I had those years of transition.
Right.
But they also made me grow up super fast, so I never was a screw up after that. You
True
know?
story. Well, yeah, I think, but I mean it's commendable because I honestly, I don't even know how the younger generation even thinks nowadays. But to make that decision, in terms of I don't want to be a screw up, so you're gonna have to literally sever friendships with people. And that's a huge transition. Everybody knows that transition from junior high to high school. That's huge. And
Well, one of those, out of my three best friends at that time, one of them had a kid in high school. One of them died the next year in a car crash and when he was running from the cops. And
jeez,
then another one, I don't even know what's happened to him. So the odds weren't good, man. And so something had to be different. And there was some like lonely time in there, but it worked itself out. And
Oh yeah.
sports and weightlifting was kind of what got me confident at all, and uh, and that just kind of grew. And I think wrestling is what got me competitive. Like football was easy to be good at,
Yeah.
wrestling was tough to be good at, and I got this weird like confidence and insane competitiveness where like I know for a fact you're probably faster than me, but I'll race you right now. Like if we weren't in different states, I would challenge you to a race.
Yeah. I mean, because you competitive spirit. Like,
And I don't care if I lose, but I'm going to try. And then if I lose, I'm like, whatever, you're a good runner. And then if I beat you, then I can rub it in all day.
oh yeah, you sound a
I'll
lot like
challenge
me.
anybody to a race, you
Yeah,
know?
I think, and I think I I've I've more and more started kind of seeing in terms of just again, it's just I don't know if I'm just weird like that, but I look for patterns in everything, and one of the patterns again that I've noticed is everyone in some form or fashion, especially if you're a top level athlete, doesn't matter what sport, what your discipline, what your mastery is, they have this competitive streak, and they can be the nicest person on God's green earth. Have puppies and kittens all over the place. Just be the nicest person. Visit the old folks' home on a daily basis. Just nicest people. But when it comes to their discipline, when it comes to just competitiveness at all, and when it's time to win versus lose, they're gonna do not necessarily whatever it takes to win, but they're gonna, they can do whatever they can to put themselves in the best position to win.
I'll
It,
give you a funny, quick story about that. So I'm like one of the nicest guys that I know. I mean, I'm like real sensitive and I can get emotional real quick,
oh,
especially if it's
join
about
the
my family or
join the
kids.
club, join the club.
Oh man, it's like so easy for me. Like I probably cried 2 days this week. And
I cried last night watching The Good Doctor. I
That went, I think I went like all through high school and college and like 10 or 12 years without ever crying. And then I like had kids and it was over. Um, the, so when I was at the U.S. Open though, I'm really competitive. When
right.
I was at the U.S. Open 2 years ago, Zahir, Kudairov or whatever you say his name, he was trying to squat 1050 for his opener
Yep.
and he dropped it into the straps. And the guy handling me was like, "What just happened?" I said, "I don't care." I said, I don't care. He missed his attempt. Good for him.
Yeah.
He's like, why am I so mean?
You
Like,
know,
I'm
I
nice.
you, okay. So in terms of because I love knowing this about people. So what type of I don't even know. It's hard to really pinpoint the type of competitor people can be. Overall, I mean, so you're I think it was Lane Norton. Lane Norton, he actually pointed out. He's like you. He pointed out. He goes for me. He's like goes, I would people consider me more. I'm a mean competitor, but outside I'm nice. He's like, I feel like he's like, LS, you're a nice competitor, but outside you're mean. I'm like, well, yeah, kind of, sorta. So would you consider yourself like, in the heat of battle, you're not necessarily a mean competitor, but you're not that go around shaking people's hands, like slapping slapping hands. Like, hey, good luck out there. Like you're one of those. Hey, I'm gonna treat within myself. It's me, pretty much me, my music. You know what I mean? My nose torque. I'm gonna go out there. I'm destroying everything, and then when it's over with, we can be buddies. Or
I, I think actually at the Open, it was kind of funny because like Brandon Allen and I, we talked a lot of crap heading up to it just because we knew
oh,
it was fun.
oh, Brandon.
And so we had like a pretty fun time with it. And we talked crap the whole day. And then anybody that came around us, they got it too. But but we had fun the whole time. Like it was never uptight or anything. And honestly, like when I compete, I'll be like, I'm businesslike, not high strung, because
Yeah.
I'm pretty relaxed. I'm pretty laid back by
Right.
now. But I'm a little bit professional
Yeah.
up until the second squat's over. And then when the second squat's over, I have fun the rest of the day.
That's what I'm with you there. For me, it's just once squats are over with, I feel like a weight's just off of my shoulders.
It
Um,
is.
like I just true. I I don't know what it is about squat. Squat's one of those things I've worked so hard to obviously get better at. Um, but I always feel like I've yet to do a meet where I'm like, you know what, let's load this bad boy up and really do what we can do. I'm always too afraid to really, put it out there because I just never know. I'm like, I'd rather, leave weight out there leave a little bit more weight than I should out there. Maybe make up for it and bench a little bit, and then see what I have left in the tank for deadlift. But I've never had a meet where I'm like, you know what, I'm about to kill it with these squats. I'm not confident enough yet in just my first attempt. I feel like I'm about 99.9% sure I'm going to get it. Second attempt, pretty much same way. I think I'm about 95% that thing's going to go up. But with the third, I always feel like I do something. I get in my own head. I don't know what it is. So I feel like I always have fun, but I feel like I feel like this huge thing of pressure on me until honestly, until I get the squat call. And then as soon as he gives me a squat call, I'm like, all right, you know what? It's a wrap. So it doesn't matter now at this point.
The only time I've ever, I mean, the last time I remember missing a squat in competition is the U.S. Open. Obviously, just happened. But before that, I don't know that I mean, I've missed one on a second attempt, but I came back and got it for my third. But I mean, in the 22 years I've lifted weights, I just don't remember missing more than 2 or 3 squats.
Jeez, that must be nice.
And so I've been really confident and calculated and had really good choices probably. But the only time that I've really ever had that backfire on me was this year. So, it sucked because it put me in a place I've never been in before,
Well, I mean, I want to talk about that a little bit, man, because I mean, I know a lot of people had, they really, I mean, they didn't necessarily hammer it, but they talked about it a lot in terms of just how unstable the staging felt being out there. And I mean, just, seeing you walk out and like honestly just literally watching you stabilize the entire time before making descent. I was like, dude, it didn't, and that's the weird thing. I think, I've never had anything close to 1,000 pounds, 1,000+ pounds on my back. So I don't know what it feels like. I know what 750 feels like, walking out. And so I'm like, I recognize, like, you know what, that's a strong walkout just on an unstable surface. And
Right.
it didn't necessarily look scary as it did more concerning. Like, you know what, are they gonna do something about it? Are they gonna brace the stage down? Like, what are they gonna do? But at that point, it's the heaviest squat. You know what I mean? So it's like, what are you gonna do? By that time, it seems like if they had braced the staging, had they, it's not like it was, it was like it was the heaviest squat. So I
Right.
mean, it had to be honest, like you don't know how staging, elevated staging or not, you don't know how it's gonna, react to weight that heavy because like who the fuck's gonna actually walk out 1,000+ pounds?
Yeah, they never knew. Now it ended up, hurting a lot of people that day
Yeah,
overall, but they didn't know. And I mean, it even affected people in the 700s a bit. But the
right.
first day, nobody was up that high, so they
Yeah,
didn't know. And then, so we warmed up with those bars, and I warmed up with one of them, and it was fine. I had a little bit of a bad warm up at like 7 something, but then my 8:35 for my last warm up was fine. And so when I went out there, my opener 950, which I'd done 4 times in
right.
training, and I doubled 925 4 months ago. My opener 953, I took 5 steps with it. I've only ever in my whole ever since I squatted 800, I've only ever taken 2 steps on a walkout.
Really? Oh
2.
my, woo.
2 steps is my longest walkout I've ever had since I did 800, including 1,000, including whatever. And so I took 5 steps on my opener.
Oh
And then
wow.
I was like, okay, this is jacked up. I don't know what's happening. I don't know why it's this bad. I don't know if it's the bar stage or a combination of the two. The stage for sure. But then I squatted it and the weight was easy. So I was like,
Yeah,
okay, that's fine. I can get through another one. No big deal. So then when 1,000 came up, and like a lot of people, almost got hurt. Rob Philippus fell down and then got back up, and
yeah,
Herbert had an issue. There were people skipping attempts. Like it was not good.
yeah.
Yuri only did 2 attempts because he didn't want to do a third on that stage. So that part of it was jacked up, and it was too late to do anything about it. And also, like, I don't want to blame the bar by any means because I've never used that bar on 1,000 pounds on a flat surface.
Yeah.
But they probably shouldn't have changed the bars 2 days before the meet started when I was practicing with the Texas squat bar the whole year.
Yeah, so that's what like that was my question. So they used
People
the
meet had that bar, and it's not fair that 3 people had that bar and nobody else did.
that it's that Kabuki bar or the I mean So what was it? It wasn't a squat bar. It was just a regular 45 bar. Or was it a
No,
squat bar?
it was a kabuki squat bar, and the knurling on it was actually the whole bar had knurling on
What?
it. It was insane. It stuck to your back like glue, which was amazing, but
It'd been
it
nice to have been able
definitely.
to practice with it.
So everybody that had one at home also said it did not feel the same as theirs at home. So I just didn't understand why we were using prototypes and knew about it 2 days before the meet. That just didn't seem right.
Yeah.
Um, it's cool that they're trying new things and different things, but that just wasn't the thing to change.
Yeah, that
Uh,
may have been something that you want to look at. Like, let's put about a month of testing into it before we put it out there. Or, I mean, the thing is, it's a cool. The way I look at it is like this: it's a cool gamble if everybody ends up liking the bar.
right.
You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, we have the new Kabuki squat bar. That thing's amazing. But when and I kind of how you mentioned earlier about it, it's a combination. Could have been a combination of things in terms of the staging, in terms of just the bar, in terms of the setting and everything else. I mean, so it's almost like rather than having, a lot of good things or two or three good things that happened, it seems like there was just a bunch of little bad things that kind of
Right.
contributed to, it being a less than pleasant experience at, and otherwise star-studded freaking dude,
Well,
that thing was loaded,
what sucks about it though is one, I'm not an excuse maker
right?
or punk, so I don't want to talk about it that much.
Right.
But it also happened. So
Yeah.
and there are people who did better than me on it, and that's so I could have been better. That's
Right.
my fault. But yeah, it just sucked. That just sucked to go out that way.
Oh yeah.
Bench went fine, and deadlift was what it was.
Right.
But I mean, even the Kabuki deadlift bar broke that Yuri used, and then they had to replace it. So
Oh yeah. I think, I mean, they got some good data from it. I'm sure. I'm sure they got some good data based off of,
and
I mean,
I'm not blaming anybody, but now
no,
that they know, don't do that again.
no, yeah, I mean, it's a lesson learned, and at the same time, in terms of, the meet director, like, let's maybe make sure that we have, some more reliable equipment, of course, and maybe the only, the hard part, I think, because I felt for you. I'll say this: I've never, and I probably never will ever have 1,000+ pounds on my squat. But I had a similar situation when I was in Canada this past year.
Kelly,
Say again.
isn't that where Kelly got all jacked up?
Um.
Because he sent me that video and was like, "Brother, I feel you. Look at this."
Oh no, that was a couple years ago in actually. It's been a couple times that Kelly got jacked, but he got jacked up real bad. I think it was
You
in,
know what I'm talking about, though, right?
yeah,
From his life.
when he almost got pinned and damn near killed. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was in Texas, and I was front row center when that happened.
So yeah, he was commiserating with me. He was
Oh
like, "Dude, I
man,
felt that, and it sucks."
like it's bad. I think it's even worse that when it happens to a bigger guy because one, you're just so massive. It's not like I'm just gonna hop and pop from out of this thing. And
Right.
two, the part that's even worse is because there's so much weight, so much weight. There's like it seems like there's like 20 spotters out there. So
Yeah.
it's like you have half of them trying to save the weight, half of them trying to save you, and another two or three that are just trying to get out of the way. They don't know what's going on. So it's almost like a frenzy because first of all, no one can really do that weight aside from, let's be honest, the man that's under the bar.
Well,
So
the good thing is they had great spotters,
yeah,
and when I was walking 1,000 out, I couldn't stop walking. They said what actually happened. The guys from Australia that run the Big Dogs meet,
yeah,
Emad and Marcos.
yeah.
So Emad was there and he was videoing it, and he actually showed me when I stepped, the
The
stage would move under my feet.
yeah,
And so he was showing me that, and then I would have never stopped walking. I couldn't stop my momentum because you get a momentum with 1,000
yeah,
pounds, you can't stop.
right,
And then I took my 8th step, and the spotter grabbed me by the hips, and I stopped moving. I just set my feet and squatted. I couldn't do it again. It took too much out of me.
right.
I was doing a backwards yoke walk with 1,000, so the spotter
Jeez.
actually stopped me. I wish I would have known ahead of time that I could do that, so I could have him stop me in 2 steps.
Oh yeah, like you almost stopped me 6 steps prior to that. Yeah,
So
that's crazy. I was kind of just watching this kind of how and it was just it was just, it's going to give up under the weight. And, the fact that you have to have somebody, kind of stop you. Like I never got a chance to actually look at the surface. I tried to pause a couple times. I tried to rewind it and look and kind of pause and look at the surface, but it looked like, well, similar to what we had in Canada a couple years ago. And I mean, anytime you're on staging like that, it's just, and I think once you go over 600 pounds, that staging is not meant for. I mean, even with my weight and that weight combined, that's like 800 pounds. It's not meant for anything more than 600 or 700 pounds to be at one pressure point. And it's just, I just kind of felt it swaying. And so, like, they actually, as we were like, I took a couple warm ups under it, and it felt unstable with like 500. So they went in, they had to like re-drill around it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one of those things where, I know that they want people to be able to see it, but I almost feel like again, I'm a big fan of how weightlifting does a lot of their stuff. In terms of, even like their, not the biggest meets, but, even if, I believe it was the American Open, they had bleachers. I mean, even if you want to put your people in bleachers, put it on a flat surface, that's a little bit safer, a lot of bit safer actually for the lifter. Yeah. I mean, so it's one of those things where, like I said, it's super impressive to watch. I mean, if everything goes well, it's like, oh, should you see JP just bury that, just stand up with like it was nothing? That's crazy.
Well,
and then
when those things happen, have you ever been in that situation and everything goes in slow motion?
Oh, yeah.
I thought about it the whole time that I'm going to be so freaking pumped that I did it in this circumstance and not perfect.
Yeah, true.
And then I failed, so then it was over. But
well, and then of course, here's the thing though. Then you have to look at how many times 1,000 plus has even been attempted in, I want to say, the last couple years.
Yeah,
that's just, it's like less than 100 still. You know what I mean? That's even been attempted in meets. You know what I mean? Like, so right. The way I look at it is like, well, even though it didn't go as planned, the fact that you were able to go out there and even, closely execute it considering the conditions that you were under, that's a win in itself.
Back when I did it the first time, I think I was the 5th guy to ever attempt 1,000.
That's insanity, man. Like, I don't.
But there's been a lot more since, but that's the other part that pisses you off is it's like, okay, so over the last 2 years, did I not get stronger? Well, what kind of a shitty weightlifter am I?
Oh my God. You are preaching to the choir. I keep looking.
Because I've never not gotten stronger no matter what I've tried.
Right.
And now all of a sudden I'm, okay, was this what it is to be 34? Shit.
No, I take that because I'm 39 and freaking I'm getting stronger. At least I like to think I am. I honestly, I feel like a lot of it is just conditions. I mean, because I guarantee you, considering how, I mean, let's just be real. You took basically 10 steps. You did a 10-step walkout on a cushion surface, and you still attempted, you know what I'm saying, 1,000 plus, which I'm not gonna lie to you, I would have, after 3 steps, I'm like, all right, re-rack, I'm done. I know that I would have. I don't think I would have been zapped.
Afterwards, everybody's like, oh, you'll get it on your next one. And I'm like, dude, I'm not trying that again. And then I'm like, man, I'm going out like a little bitch, cuz.
But the thing is, you're not really. I mean, you're actually. You know what? That's what.
That first time, I felt like it was not possible.
Yeah. Well, and that's what, being a seasoned lifter. That's what being 34, not being 24. You know what I'm saying? Because I guarantee you, a 24-year-old you would have like, fuck it, let's do it. Let's do it again. You know what I'm saying?
Like, send it.
Yeah. You know what I mean? But so for this time, like, that's been one of the craziest things is when I first started lifting, you know what I mean? Even though like, I started late, even with the whole lifting thing, I would look at these guys lift. I was like, wait, why didn't he take that last attempt? Like, why didn't he go back out? Like, why did he only do 2 attempts? He doesn't have to. Like, no. Do the attempt. But then you look at it, I never really paid attention to the conditions. I never paid attention to like, you get around a point where like you just know your body, you know what your body's capable of. And, I think at the time I was all about just numbers, numbers, numbers. And then when you stop being so married to numbers and start thinking about your total performance and building a legitimate total, that's when it, kind of makes, so I think it kind of makes more sense. So yeah, I mean, to not take the attempt was probably the smartest thing, because then obviously you have stuff left over for bench and you have stuff left
Right.
over for deadlift, and
Yeah.
let's be honest, I mean, to take a, 7, 8 step, walkout and even expect to have anything, near what you were expecting to have, left in the tank after doing a third attempt in deadlift would be, it's asinine. So I mean, I kudos to you, because like I said, I wouldn't, first of all, I wouldn't have the balls to even walk out 1,000, let alone, actually attempt to squat. Um, so we talked about, well, you mentioned before the being a softie now that you're now that you're a daddy.
Hmm.
We got to talk about the kids. We got to, because I mean, we get to see kind of flashes of them on social media, man. What's the
Yeah.
best part about being a dad, dude?
Well, I'm softer, but I'm also like way meaner too now because I'm protective.
Right.
So I'm way more protective of my friends and family now than I've ever been. And it's one of those things where, like, here's a good example of what's awesome about being a dad. So my wife and I are sleeping in our room. She gets up at 4 in the morning and goes and works out at 4:30, and then she comes home at 6:15, 6:20, and we get up and get ready, get the kids to school, get to work, and then I lift at night after the kids go to bed. So that's been our schedule for the last 6, 7 years, and my kids are 3 and 6, and so I woke up on Tuesday morning, I think it was, and my 3-year old crawled into bed and we were cuddling, and my dog crawled into bed and he was cuddling with him. And it's just to wake up and have that and have people rely on you every day and make you happy. And it's just, it's unbelievable, and to have them make books and talk about how much they love you. And my 6-year old, he's really emotional, and he comes up to me and, he puts his head on me and just says things like, "I love you, Daddy." And he
Oh,
kisses me on the belly.
that's
And
awesome, man.
so they make you want to live better, and they make you also break your heart more. When I was working my sales job, a year ago in the early fall, I would work, crazy hours and not be home much
Right.
during certain times of the year. And my 6-year old, or he was 5 at the time, drew a picture and he said, "Hey, look, I drew a picture of you." And I said, "That's awesome. Why'd you do that?" And he said, "Well, because I never see you."
Wow.
And then I had to leave, and then I came back, and he fell asleep looking at it under his lamp, and it fucking rocked me, and I just could never do that anymore to them. So something had to change, and I never I never saw lifting as a job. I always saw it as a hobby I was good at.
Right.
And I don't know if it's a self confidence thing or what. Like, I'm like, well, who would want to learn from me? Who would want me to coach them? Who would want me
Right.
to put a seminar on? Who would want me to do this or that? And it's all about experience. So I've done it for 22 years. I should share that. And
Right.
I just always saw it as a hobby, not a job. And I always kept it as more of a hobby so that people wouldn't think it interfered with my job.
Right.
And now that it is my job and I get to do that every day, it's amazing. I got a message from a guy that I started training this year, and I do their programming, and him and his girlfriend just bought a house up by the gym so they could be closer to the gym and to me.
That's
And
awesome, dude.
and that
Dang.
kind of stuff is, man, it's so I get to live a mile from the gym, a mile from my kids' school, and build a community around the gym of people to get the experience there that I got growing up, that gave me confidence and goals and things to live for. And having kids makes it all worth trying, you know.
Oh man, that's awesome, dude. I the more I don't have kids, I guess not yet, and
But you also have to do stuff for yourself too, because then your kids got to grow up and learn to do that.
yeah, like
So that's where you and I aren't different. You have to do stuff for yourself too, because if you don't, then you're not magnanimous. You're
yeah,
not trying to be the best version of yourself. So if you did ever have kids, what would they ever have to look up to?
exactly. Like I was, my dad and I, we talk about it quite often, man, and it's always one of those things that he's always like, you want your kids to live a better life than you did, but you want to set the bar high, so so that when they do live a better life, that it's it's out of this world. And you know more so now than I ever had been, because I'd always wanted to been one of those types, like, I'm either gonna do, I live my life literally like, it's either I'm gonna do this or I'm gonna do that, and I never have it in between. And I was either gonna have kids early, get married, and do all of that earlier, and then hopefully, if I had enough disposable income and all that good stuff, then I'll go out, travel, and see the world. That, or I was gonna go try to see the world, do as much as I can, early, and rather than just go see the world, get to a point where I want to share my world. And I finally hit that point, JP, after all of these years of just pressing the Heisman to women that wanted to get married and want to have kids. I finally got to that point where, like, I'm ready to share my world. I'm ready to share this world that I've seen 6 or 7 times over. And and I can be completely honest and say I can only attribute that to lifting and being in the lifting community, being, I can't even say fitness, just being in the lifting community and seeing families and seeing, I think the coolest thing that I've seen so far has been, I think it was a couple years ago, Nick Taluki, he was getting ready to deadlift, and his coach was like, LS, we're trying to get him going. It's, he's in a different space in his head. Is there anything you could say to him? And I just remember every time he would walk out to get ready to lift, his kids would be in the front like, let's go, dad, and he would kind of look at him and, give him kind of a thumbs up. And so, I was like, dude, I don't have the words. I'm not going to pretend like I know what to say to you, but I will tell you this. If nothing else, don't do it for the win, because he was going to have to pull for the win. I was like, don't do it for the win. Don't do it for anything. Just do it for those three buggers in the front. That's it. The ones that are yelling, let's go, dad. And, dude, he broke down. And mind you, this is, big freaking, badass police officer and everything, man. And the guy just broke. And it was like, I don't know, he had the strength of Samson. I don't know what it was. But I've noticed more and more just being around, these lifters, these big guys, these tough guys that turn completely soft when the kids come around. And then on top of that, being around, I just call them gym kids. Kids that grow up around, they grow up around the gym, and you kind of watch them grow up. And in the six legitimate years that I put into training over and over and over, you get to see, I mean, you see a 5-year-old become an 11-year-old. You see, 11-year-old, damn near get ready to graduate. So you kind of grow up, you kind of see these kids grow up. And I think it's made me want it more and more to be a part of that community. And of course, following guys like yourself and Rob and, so many others out here that, you guys kind of give us an opportunity to kind of peek through the window, like, dude, not only like are they badasses, but they're like, I always wanted to be a cool dad. I always wanted to be, you know what I mean? And, I always felt like, again, to get married and have kids, it wasn't necessarily a bad thing. It was just like, all right, now I'm going to put the rest of my life on pause. But more and more, the thing, like after my best friend had his daughter, he's like, you realize more than anything, you thought you were living until you had kids. And then now you realize what you're living for. And
I think that you can not have kids and leave a huge impact on people's lives.
yeah,
It's not quite the same.
yeah,
I think that having my kids, I think a lot of people use that as an excuse to not be good at anything
right,
anymore. And I get told this all the time. I went to a high school and did a talk for the kids just about lifting weights and getting started as early as you can and not wasting your years, because these are the years that are the most formative.
right.
And there was a dad there with his son that was like 15. And the dad was like, I used to be really into this. Then we had our kids and I stopped. And you understand, right? And I go, no, I don't understand, sir. And because I don't really have a whole lot of sympathy for people who don't take care of themselves.
Yeah.
Or try to be good at something or ignore their talents just because they have situations.
Right.
I could just stop powerlifting and spend more time at home or this or that, but I've moved my life in a place where it's a part of what we do every week. The best story I can give for that, because how many people tell you like, oh, I wish I was good at that, but I have other priorities.
Oh, that's you get that almost daily.
Every single day. If you're in the gym, you hear that. Like, I used to be big and strong like you, but
like, yeah,
well, pick away the buts, you're a quitter. So it makes me kind of harder because I expect more because I've had to go through more now.
Oh yeah.
And so like we're in the hospital having our second kid, and it was a Thursday night, and I was telling my wife we just had the kiddo at like 7:00, and at 9:00 I'm like, hey, we're going to get out of the hospital on Saturday. What's the plan this weekend? Do I need to go to the store? Like, what do we have to do? And she goes, well, we'll go home. We'll probably order food in so we don't have to cook. And then on Sunday, you squat.
Oh man,
How many people have a
dude,
kid?
that just gave me chills, man.
So my wife said, and on Sunday, you squat. And because she knows I need it and she's
Yeah.
not going to let me go without it.
Dude, that kind of teared me up, dude. That's awesome, dude. That's when you're a unit, man.
You can take 2 years off after you have kids, or you can just mold your life in a way where you're not selfish, but you need something, and you do it, and then it's good for your family later.
Right. I mean, I'm with that. Dude, kudos to her. That's
hard,
a sick story, man.
You talk to people about that. You don't want to hurt their feelings. You want to help them.
Right.
But the ultimate thing is either it's not that important to you or you're soft.
Yeah.
It's like girls that get into powerlifting and then they start dating a guy and then disappear.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it clearly wasn't in their DNA.
No, not at all.
They're not gym rats.
No, and it's weird because I got a few clients, that, when you get them, it takes a little, not necessarily convincing, but like they come in because, they follow somebody that they really like and I want to do what they do. And, no, let's be real. Like powerlifting is, it's in a heightened popularity right now. I mean, everybody really digs it and that's awesome. They'll see their favorite lifter lifting and, and they want to get into it. But then when they get into it, they forget, like, all right, you want to do it because you want to buy the cool Nikes or you want to get this belt or these cool knee sleeves and all that stuff. That's all awesome. But at some point, you're still going to have to train. Mm-hmm. And once you get done with training, if you just plan on, and I'm honest with them, it's even the question of, do you plan on just training or do you actually plan on doing a meet? Now, if you plan on doing a meet, now we have a goal that we're training for. You know what I mean? Because let's be honest, you're going into the gym. If you don't have, if you go into the gym without a goal, you're working out straight up. You know what I mean? But then if you actually have a goal in mind, this is my opinion. If you have a goal in mind, now you're training for something. You're getting ready. You're preparing yourself for something. So are we training or are we working out? And it's weird because back in the day, working out wasn't such a bad thing. Now it's like, oh, I'm working out. You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong. If you're here to work out, cool. Let's work you out. That's cool. Yeah. But if you're coming to me and you're paying me money and you're asking for my advice and you're asking for this programming and you're sending your check-in and I'm having to do these check-ins and I'm having to freaking get up at 3 or 4 in the morning to make sure that you get your stuff, damn it, we're training. And if we're training, we're getting ready for something. And when it's time to actually, when the rubber meets the road and you actually have to go out there and be in this meet now what are you going to do? So people it looks glamorous until you actually have to do the work, and so, but then again, you get some that they, like you said, like they'll be gone and, they'll be gone in months, but then you'll get some that they get bit by that bug or they'll go to that first meet and they might have a horrible first meet, but they get bit by the community. And I don't think people understand. People on the outside looking in, they're like, dude, I would never do that to my body. I would never go to a meet. I would never do this. I would never do that. I get young ladies like, well, I would, but I don't want to put on the singlet. Girl, all right. If putting on the singlet is it's the least of your worries. You know what I mean? Like, go out there and have a good time. And then when they go, like I usually now, if I have an opportunity, I'll try to present them. Hey, there's a meet going on here. There's a meet that's going on there. Just go and check it out. You know, just see. I mean, a lot of times they'll let you go and you can just kind of watch. But some of them, that at least locally, I'll take them with me to a meet that like one of my lifters is lifting in, and just let them just see how the community in the back is. I mean, the warm-up room does it's for me. The warm-up room has always done the advertising for me.
So I host meets too.
Right.
I'm a meet director, and so I had a guy who is maybe close to 40. You wouldn't think he was a power lifter looking at him, but he comes in and puts his time in and he trains, right?
Right.
And he's done 2 meets now. And I got a really cool email from him after our last meet. So I had them in groups where they were in the warm-up room together.
Right.
And then they had to go up to the staging area together. And then they lifted. And then they all went and they traveled. They weren't allowed to really free form and free roam because we had it on a stage.
Right.
Like we have a cement stage in the gym that we had it on. And so he sent me a message and he said, hey, I really like what you did with the flights and keeping us all together. Because by the time we got to deadlifts, we all knew what we were doing. We were cheering for each other, knew each other's names, and we had community. And
Oh, that's nice.
so trying to build and develop that for people on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, seeing people's relationships grow, going from being a gym lifter to a meat lifter, like those are all really satisfying for me. And so now I have had to like open up a little bit, and I haven't always. I'm the kind of guy that I'll coach people or I'll work with them,
Right.
but I've always been a little bit more. If somebody else coaches somebody, I don't help them unless they really want help.
Right.
I leave people alone. I'm kind of guilty of not telling people they did a good job all the time. Like if it's good, then I just don't say anything. And then sometimes I'll tell them a good job, and then it means more. And but the people that I work with, like I have a small group that I train right now. I have some clients in person. I have some clients online.
Right.
And just with the work change and job change, I'm slowly adding clients online until I get to 20 or 25. And I just slowly take them on, and I turn most of them away. But it's got to be the ones I want to work with. It's got to be
Yep.
the ones that want to get better and compete eventually. And because I want to develop really long-lasting parts of this, not just short-term.
Man, you're speaking my, like honestly, you're making my questions for me because that was another question. So when you decide to take on people, because that's one of the things that I I struggle with for the longest time, JP. The hardest thing for me was one. I would, you get people that inquire about it a lot, like, hey, do you take clients? Do you train? Blah blah blah. And I kept saying no, 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 no. I don't know that I know enough about it. I don't have
Right,
enough experience. And I'm from the old school in terms of I'm never going to jump in an arena that I know nothing about. And at the same time, out of respect for the people, my predecessors, out of respect for those that this is what they do, this is their bread and butter.
right,
I'm not going to come and throw my hat in and and not bring some quality to the table. And at the time, all my friends, they all do it. They're all really good at it. And I mean, 60 plus clients. I mean, super efficient. Absolutely amazing with it. But me personally, I just like, dude, I don't know that I could do it. I was so afraid. I'm not gonna lie. I was absolutely
right,
terrified of putting someone's strength in my hands or allowing them to put their strength in my hands. So I
right,
would turn them down. And so, I finally, started taking on people and, and I'm like you, I was like, I don't, I was talking to my lady about it. I was like, I don't know that I want to do more than, I don't think I can do more than 20, 25 and be able to do everything else that I'm doing and be
right,
able to give them, because obviously I'm a talker
right.
and
Same.
obviously I love people a lot but I try to provide them, actually Andy and I, we talked about this before too. I I want to provide them with a service that's above and beyond what, not necessarily what they would normally get, but we spend most of the time if we do a Skype check-in, of that hour that we were supposed to talk, we're probably going to end up talking an hour and a half, and maybe 15 minutes of that is going to be of the actual programming about
Oh,
what's
cool.
going on. Everything else is going to be about, tell me about your life, how's work going? Oh, you got laid off. All right, cool. Well, listen, let's do something with it. Don't worry about the payment right now, but let's make sure that we keep going because it's. I mean, at the end of the day, don't get me wrong, it's our bread and butter, but at some point as a coach, it's not always about the money. It's about the development of that athlete. You know what I mean?
Right,
And money can always be made and lost and recovered and all that stuff. But you know, when they're in a good space, in a good place mentally and physically, and it's in terms of their programming or wherever they're at in that training block, you don't want to
right.
break that up. And I feel like a lot of times you're not just a coach, you're not just a programmer, but sometimes you're a counselor. Um,
Yeah, I always thought that kind of like you in that way. I never thought I knew that much about programming. I have no college degrees or certificates in weightlifting.
Same.
Uh, I will. I think I want to. Like, I
Yeah.
want to be better, and I want to seek that out. I just never have had the time.
Right.
And I've also never put it as a priority that was what I was going to be a professional at. So whenever I say that, people are really kind, and they're like, "Well, yeah, you've done this for 22 years." And
Yeah.
so I do come from a common sense background, but I have always known because I've coached college football, I've coached high school wrestling, I've coached all kinds of
Right.
sports, and I know that I'm a good coach. I know that I'm a good psychological coach. And
Right.
I think the number one thing that you can have, and it is the number one thing I feel like I have, is that I'm really, really good with emotional maturity
Yes.
and being able to find my athletes where they're at and being able to connect with them. And the people I coach in person, it's really the best because I can really meet them on their level, and then when they leave, they feel like they wanted to feel when they walked in the door.
Right.
Now, I want to try to get to that place with my online clients, but I think that's a little more challenging.
Yeah.
Uh, but you know, because you're limited and bound by time and distance. But I think that that's something I really, really desire to be able to do. And I've started to get into that with my online clients, where it's like, you know, hey, how many days? I don't ever make anybody do just what I like. I have to
Right.
find where they're at and then nourish them from there.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody wants to do conjugate, I'm like, well, I've done that and it can be successful. So here's how I would run it with you. If somebody wants to do standard periodization, hey, I understand that, and here's how I would run it with you.
Right.
If somebody wants to do 4 days a week, but they should be doing five, then well, I got to figure out exactly what they want. If they need to do 3 weeks, 3 days a week because they have their daughter 4 days a week, I'm going to make sure they do three
Yeah,
days a week.
man. Yeah. Like it's being able
I don't
to
force
adapt
my
and
hand
roll with it.
on ever, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I think that's that's something that a lot of coaches. It's not that they don't do it. It's a lot, some of them can't. Some of them can't really adapt to it, and it's been kind of crazy. Just kind of because you. I think you get people. And I never want to know. I never. To be honest with you, like I sometimes I don't even want to know who previously coached them. I just want to know have you had a coach before?
Yeah,
And like, yeah, I have. All right, that's all I need to know. Just give me an idea of what you did. All right, cool. Just give me a general idea. That's all I need to know. I don't want to know the name. I don't want to. I don't care.
right.
Because because then eventually they end up telling you anyway, which is weird. But like, I just want to know what you're capable of, and at the same time, but then you start realizing with this again pattern, a
Right.
lot of the coaches that they have previously, it's not that that they're bad coaches. It's they're some of them can't do that. Some of them can't take a 4 or 5, a training session that's supposed to run the course of 4 or 5 days within a week and condense it to 3 days. Some of them
Right.
just don't know how to do it. And these are guys and girls with degrees in every. They have every damn freaking letter behind their name. You know what I mean? I'm like, dude, I have an MBA and a few degrees, but none of them speak to like me being able to. I can tell you the force. I can tell you the force of like what the weight's going to be like on your shoulders. I have a degree in engineering physics. I can tell you that all day, every day. But if you ask me, I joke a lot with Mike Teixeira. I'm like, dude, I don't know what you guys are. He'll be in this conversation and talking, and he's like, so LS, what do you think about Mike? Before you even start this sentence, if you don't make this as dumb as humanly possible, you're gonna get a blank stare from me.
Yeah.
Or I. God bless. I'll say this because I know he listens to these things. God bless Bryce Lewis, because Bryce Lewis will talk this. I don't know what the talk is, the scientific talk. Like
Right.
I like he'll talk this scientific talk with the boys, and he'll know that I don't know what they're talking. I'll get a few words here and there. I'll it's like Spanish. You know what I mean? Like you plug a few words here and there, and he'll literally wait till everybody kind of ventures off, and then he'll kind of explain to them like, all right, this is what this means, this is what this means, this is what this means. I'm like, dude, thank you. You know what I mean? Like he'll never let he'll never let me he'll never embarrass me, but
Right.
he'll put it in means that I can understand it. And
Right.
Mike's starting to do that a little bit more in terms like he'll talk to me, and I know that he's dumbing it down, but it helps. It helps so much. But I think that's but I feel like there's a need for that. There's a need for people like me that I don't know the scientific term. I just know that I can't tell you what this specific muscle is, but I know it's part of your shoulder. You give me a
Yeah.
little time, I'm gonna look it up, and if I don't know the answer, I think the good thing, I'm a lot like you in that. I do have a couple of really good friends I grew up with since elementary, but for the most part, I'm just close with whoever's in my circle. Um,
Right.
and those people in my circle are very well versed. They're have every degree under the sun. They're scientifically versed and all that good stuff. So if I don't know the answer, I can easily reach out. And I think that's a cool thing about the position that we're in. If we don't know the answer, if we don't know the term, you can easily reach out to anybody and get
Yeah.
that.
The people that we're working with can.
Yeah, they can't. And if
So I feel like, but I feel like, usually the people that are real well versed aren't emotionally as mature, maybe. and it's harder to. And I'm not saying there are those people that can do both, but it's kind of rare. You would laugh at this. So when I went to school, I was going for business, and I just wasn't very
Same.
satisfied with it. It was boring. And I took a philosophy class I really liked, and I ended up majoring in philosophy and theology.
Wow.
Small college.
That's awesome. Yeah, dude. I transferred from a big public school to a Christian school because I thought I wanted to be a preacher. That was
Yeah.
my initial goal.
When I was 18 too, I was baptized when I was 18.
Yeah, I wanted to be a preacher, so we went to Abilene. I went to Abilene Christian, and man, and you know what? I think the cool thing with college, and shout out to everybody that's going to college and those that even don't, is that when you're in school, and you're in college, you start learning your limitations and your cans and your can'ts. And I had always wanted to be in the ministry in some form or fashion, but I was like, I can't never do like my dad and get behind the pulpit. I just, I like chicks too much, and what I mean,
Yeah.
like I like running around and cursing too much, and I like doing this. I was so worldly, you know what I mean, and that was
Right.
like I was as hardcore kid as you could be at that point in time. I knew what I wanted to do, but I just knew that I didn't know if that was how I was going to do it. I was like, I just can't see myself in a pulpit.
What's okay? So we were talking the other night. I'm sorry to turn the
No, you're
conversation,
good.
but the other night we were talking about music, and I've been getting more into music because I've been in the gym more. I used to be in the car all the time, and when you're in the car 3 hours a day, you can't listen to music the
Oh
whole
no.
time. You listen to podcasts.
Oh yeah.
And so now I don't listen to as many podcasts, which sucks. But I'm back into music, which is good. As a hardcore kid, what's your best show?
Ooh, man. You know what? I'm gonna be honest with you. I've
Or
been to
just like three that feel good.
the best show that I have been to. Honestly, this is gonna sound bad because I've been to some sick ones.
Yeah.
I'll say the first one I ever went to, man. I was a youngster and I snuck in, used the fake to get in, but I got to see Pantera,
Hmm.
and I snuck out of the house. I drove three and a half, 4 hours. I drove like a little over 4 hours to Dallas to sneak into this show to see Pantera,
So,
and I never get it because I walked to the door and I gave the guy my fake, it was horrible. He said the guy was like 6'2", 6'3", like clearly I wasn't.
right.
He just looked at me and kind of shook his head, and it's a big old black dude, and he's like, this is a rock show, right? I'm like, yes, I know, yes, I know. He's like, all
My
right,
favorite black security guards at hardcore shows that are just like weird ass white kids.
yeah, dude. He just kind of shook his head. He's like, well, you know. I was like, I know. It's supposedly they're white supremacists. I don't care. The music's the shit. Let me in here. He let me in, and it was the craziest thing because like I got maybe 3 or 4 stares. Like, is this kid serious?
Yeah.
But as soon as that pit opened up, I blacked out. And next thing I know, I went from being at the very back to the middle of the pit. From the pit, like you make like pit friends. You know what I'm saying? And the next thing I know, I'm front row, like right at the rail, and I'm like, dude, this is. I don't know that I could ever go back. That
Yeah.
was your first shows. I feel like your first show is always your best show. Aside from that, my 2 favorite shows that I've gone to have literally come in consecutive weekends, or it's just consecutive weeks, this year.
Yeah.
In San Antonio, Knocked Loose. I'm telling you right, Knocked Loose is they put on the best show. I mean, and the thing is, it was Knocked Loose. Knocked Loose was the headliner, but it was Counter. No, that wasn't Counter. It was Jesus Piece was the first opening act, and they're pretty freaking good. I wouldn't expect them to be that good.
They've blown up.
Yeah, man. Like, and I was like, who's this little? Like, it literally. I looked. I was like, is that a black dude? I can't even tell. Like, it was so far away when I walked. I was like, that's a black dude. That's do your thing. And by the time I got to the third song, I was like, because like they only have EP, like they only have EP length like albums. So I was like, you don't really have a huge body of work. Just play everything that you have.
Yeah.
So they were the first opener, and then after them, it was freaking Terror.
I've seen Terror 3 times, so every time it's great.
Man, listen, San Antonio is set. The first of all, like people that don't understand, I mean, people out there that don't necessarily listen to hardcore. Hardcore is, I mean, it's not just like the screaming and everything. It's not just like the the gutter beats or whatever. But hardcore is, it's just like it's just like rap. You have your West Coast rap, East Coast rap. You know what I mean? Your Texas, your third coast. So you have like your Midwest rap, all of that. So like with hardcore, you know, Texans are really weird about their hardcore because there are so many hardcore bands in Texas, but Texas hardcore, it's a different type of hardcore. It's
Well, like Kansas City scene was really good when I first started listening, and then it's really died since
yeah,
because bands have to drive so far to get here.
yep,
They have to come from Texas or Denver, and
yep,
they just would rather sometimes bypass it and go to another area with 3 stops.
yeah.
So we don't get very many shows anymore, and I don't go to as many, but I'm probably out of touch. But
Oh
I'd say
man.
some of the best shows I've been to, like I really, really liked seeing Walls of Jericho with Bury Your Dead and Madball.
Oh, they were. I think they're either about to be here or they were just here.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I really liked, I saw at one tour, Guar was like one of the headliners, and then Lamb of God at a thing. And the best
Guar.
thing ever is going to see Guar with people who don't know what it is. But the show that day was Norma Jean,
Oh dang. So
and
you
the best breakdown was Memphis Will Be Laid to Waste. Um, that was pretty amazing. But when I was growing up in college, we would go to the shows in Lawrence, Kansas, and the promoters didn't have any money for security, so they just let us in, and we kind of policed the shit, you know?
Oh, that's pretty sick. That's smart, man. I don't know if you have gotten a chance. And it's kind of it's definitely a Brit hardcore. But if you ever get a chance to see, oh god, what is their names? Because like I was so excited to talk about them and then I messed it up. Oh gosh, what is the name? It's Architects.
Yeah. You know
Man.
who told me about Architects? I think it was Calgary Barbell guy, Bryce.
Oh yeah, Bryce. He's a big Architects fan and Counterparts. Both of
Yeah.
those, man. I'm telling you, I screw the best hardcore show. Counterpart, like Architects was one of the best shows I've
Right.
ever seen in my life. The guy sounded better, and there's only a couple of bands. I'll say, um, Knocked Loose was like that. Um, they sound better live than they do studio. Um,
Yeah.
and then of course when you realize as far as like the album that uh the album that the architects made, it was the lead singer, it was his brother wrote the album, and
Hmm.
he died or whatever. I think he died of cancer. Well, when you find out the story,
Hmm.
so this guy was literally dying while he's writing the album,
Hmm.
and there's there's a couple songs on it where it hits you. So I'm in the middle of the show, and it was crazy because I thought I was going to be the only one. Um, there's a song that they have. I'm pretty sure it's called "Gone with the Wind," and like there's like the part in the chorus is like a sickness with no remedy, uh, like found deep inside of me. You ever wonder what it feels like to disappear into nothing at all, dude? When I heard it, but I didn't really like. It didn't really register with me. And by the time they got to that, I think it was like the third time that he sang the chorus, I was like, oh, I forgot his brother wrote it. His brother's writing about himself, and I'm dead. And I look over, and there is not a dry eye in the whole freak. And mind you, we were trying to murder each other
Right.
three minutes ago, and I mean, there's not a dry eye. I mean, that was to be. I mean, man to man, that was one of the greatest shows, if not the greatest musical just display that I've ever seen. And I've been to hundreds of concerts.
Hmm.
I mean, and again, I'm a big big Pearl Jam fan. I've yet to see them. I've had tickets to see them twice, and I've always had something bad happen.
Show that you never got to see. It's Pearl Jam, right?
Oh yeah, that's the best show. The best. I've been able to see the Rolling Stones. I've seen Metallica twice. Um, I've seen Paul McCartney. Freaking.
The one that I never got to see is Rage Against the Machine.
Oh man.
So my PR song is Rage Against the Machine live at the Olympic in California.
Nice.
Bulls on Parade.
Bulls on Parade is it's a that's one of those that'll never get old. I don't care who you are. It doesn't that there's me and my buddy, we were arguing about some of the best songs, just some of the best rock songs of all time, no matter what era. Bulls on Parade was definitely one of them. Toxicity was definitely one of them.
Yeah.
I to this day I'll argue this until my dying day.
Yeah.
Since I won't say, I think it was like 1990. It had to be like 1995, 96. Since 95, 96, the greatest rock song ever made, to me, has to be Everlong by Foo Fighters.
It's a good one.
That really is good. The greatest. I honestly, and I always look at it like this. If they can play this
chess while everybody else is playing checkers in the music world.
Honestly, man, and this is, you can, I wish there was a way to quantify it, but there's never been a time since the first time I heard, and maybe part of it's nostalgia, but there's never been a time that song's come on that I don't get chills.
Yeah.
There's never been a time. And that's one group that I've never seen live. They're, I don't love them as much as I love Pearl Jam, but I absolutely love the Foo Fighters. But I think if I were ever to hear there's a few songs I know if I ever heard live, I would probably I wouldn't hear it because I'd cry the whole time. But
Pearl Jam Black, I would cry the whole time.
Oh yeah, anything off the 10 album, I'd probably cry. Like that was the that was the album that I memorized that thing front to back. But I'm like, I'll be honest with you, I'm that way. I should say that way about Thursday and about Silverstein, and then one day
Thursday, I saw them at the Warped Tour in 2002.
Dude, I got to see them last year when they started their reunion tour. It was part of my my birthday present. I'm a huge Florida State fan, and somehow the fan was able to get me tickets to Florida. This is how weird this is. The Florida State game was on the 30th, and the Thursday concert was on the 28th. So we drove up to Pennsylvania. From Pennsylvania, we rested. Then we drove from Pennsylvania up to New Jersey because they did it in New Brunswick, of all places. Their comeback they did in New Brunswick. So we went and watched them. It sold out the first. I was in the gym and I forgot to get the tickets. It sold out for that Wednesday, but they had such an overwhelming response. They put out another one, and my girl bought me tickets. I didn't even know. She bought them for that Thursday. She's like, I think it would have been better for you to watch Thursday on Thursday, which was awesome. So we went and watched Thursday, and then drove down to DC, and from DC we flew to Miami, watched Florida State play, and then flew back, then drove to Pennsylvania, and then we ended up driving back home. Dude, that was, to this day, that's the greatest birthday I've ever had. But seeing them on their reunion tour, because again, I hadn't really seen them. I hadn't seen them in like 7 years. So to have a chance to see those guys, and of course, anytime I see Silverstein, it's crazy. But I got a chance to meet their lead singer, Jeff. He's just walking through the audience, and no one even knew who he was. Got to take a picture with him and everything. That was one of those, man, that, I cried. I think I cried more the concert than I sang, but I sang tears the whole time. Like, seeing Thursday was one of those, like, because I never thought that I would ever get to see them again, Right. So I can't even say that, like I said, I've been to so many shows, but in terms of the greatest hardcore show so far that I've ever been to, hands down, I'd have to say it was probably that Knock Loose. It would have to be, because it was Knock Loose, and it was freaking Terror, and of course Jesus Piece. That one alone just did it for me. So I don't know. I had a chance to go to any newer ones, just because I want to go to Warped Tour, but I don't know that I can because I have cheer practice all day. So, and it's the last one. So,
I'm going on Thursday.
yeah, I know, and I'm pissed. I'm happy that you're going. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just
You
kind of
should
like,
drive up. It's not that far.
well, it's just right. We have one right in San Antonio, but I want to see who. I don't even know who's y'all's lineup though.
Yeah, it changes, and usually Kansas City gets screwed a little on that, but it'll be all right.
Yeah, man. That's the only thing. Like I was gonna just go lineup chasing, but I mean, there's all the ones that all the better bands. They're either doing it like over the next I want to say the next few days, or they're taking a break over that 4th of July time and then hitting the last ones. So I mean, I wanted to go the one in, I think the one in San Diego is the one that's like loaded, but I'm like I don't know. I mean, at this point, I'm probably gonna go just because I've there was a time for about like a 4 or 5 year period where I went to all of them,
Yeah,
and
I've only been to one. It was in 2002,
mm-hmm.
and Thursday was there.
Yep.
And so that's what the first time I saw Thursday. And then you know who was great? Trust Company.
Wow, I haven't heard that in forever. I'm writing that down, dude. I have not heard. Wow.
Their CD was so good.
Wow.
Trust Company was so good.
Yo, you just took me. Wow, you took me back.
I'm
Trust
a big something corporate fan.
something, man. You'll take. I'm telling you, my buddy, he's the one that actually got me back into the hardcore scene because those are my skateboarding days and just my crazy days. I had to sign contracts and not skateboard and ride my bike all the time. So, God, man, like I tell you, they start laughing at me because I brought I brought in a CD, a Cartel CD, and they looked at me like, "What is this?" I was like, "Oh, dude, Cartel used to be it. I don't care who you were, Cartel." And I played at the gym. I mean, it's like whoever has the aux is like your king. So
Yeah.
it's no complaints, no matter what it is. You just have to roll with it. So it's so funny because once you're in the process of doing it. Once you kind of build that gym community, it's like a family. So I'll get these texts before I even come to the gym. Like, hey, if you get there before I do, can I just request these songs? You know what I mean? And it's funny because like now I got these older guys like listen to like, dude, what is he saying? What is he saying? So like sometimes I'll print out the sheets and pass it out like, hey, this is what the guy's saying. But man, I had him listening to Yellow Card and man,
I saw Yellow Card.
like man, like Yellow Card. Like what's more? I honestly one of the best shows that I saw. And they're actually going to be at Warped Tour this year again. It was like I think it was like 2002, 2003. I drove all the way to Las Cruces, New Mexico to watch him. It was The Used.
I've seen The Used 3 times.
Oh my god, I love The Used.
Hey, you'll never believe this. So The Used was playing here in Kansas City, and they were not the last band.
Really?
Because on the radio it was a little more popular. It was The Used and then the All American Rejects.
Oh my! I forgot. I never liked the All American Rejects, but
all the Used fans just like kicked the shit out of all the other people.
that is so funny. That and I think they actually didn't do too bad for themselves, but like I always felt like Sum 41, even though people liked them a lot, I felt like Sum 41 they were kind of underrated because they were actually really good musicians, man.
They're the kind of guys that like when I get my kids into music, like my wife lets them listen to all the Disney crap,
Yeah.
but I let them listen to Mighty Boss Tones, Sum 41,
Nice.
all this, Ben Folds. Like they need to know good bands.
Oh yeah, you got to know Ben Folds, man. Like that's just crazy because that's what my girl says all the time. She goes, we are get married and have kids. She goes, because I just feel like because I don't know me. She's like, she'll be honest because I don't know music. She listens to her Carrie Underwood and that's it. And
yeah, my wife likes decent stuff, but she's more into just like modern alternative.
Yeah,
Hey, since you're writing down notes, write down Bitter End.
No, I do not, but I'm writing them down.
Yeah, Bitter End, and then the song is Conversations with Death. I just put it. I have a playlist that's on Spotify, and I started sharing it. I've shared it twice on my story, and it's got like 100 followers on it already.
Man,
But
I need
it's
to.
the gym playlist. It's got like 300 songs on it,
I
and
need.
it's
Okay.
always changing. Like three of us update it and change it, and one of them's kind of a metalhead, one of them's into rap, and then I'm more into hardcore. So it's kind of got mixed up stuff. So it goes from like the 90s to now.
See, I have I need to pull up my play. You know, I think I'm gonna put my playlist on my story for the next like couple of weeks because I mean once I got Apple Music, I stopped even using my Spotify. I need to.
It's cool because on my story, I get the most response from like singing in the car and like, which I've done my whole freaking life.
Oh yeah.
I started sending it to people, and they're like, "Put that on your story. It's funny." And so I did, and people get a kick out of it. And then I started sharing songs, and then if you have enough followers, right, you can give them a link. So I started sharing links, and I was like, "Oh, people really love that." So I'll either do like a screen deal where they can hear the song, or I'll share a link so they can just go listen to that band.
Oh, that's dope. Do you listen to have Code Orange? Have you ever heard of them?
So I was one time. I have one buddy that I really rely on for music
Yeah,
knowledge, and somebody was like, "I want the metal of metal," and I was like, "Here." My buddy said to listen to Code Orange,
dude. Code Orange.
and they were actually here last night, and I didn't go see them.
What? Are you serious?
I'm going to a show tomorrow, and I'm going to Warped Tour on Thursday. I'm 34 as heck, and I can't do 3 shows in 1 week very well like I used to.
Oh man.
So Code Orange was here yesterday. Um, they're not my favorite. They're just really good, but they're really good.
I'm just now getting into Code Orange. So,
I
and I think
saw
that.
I saw Harm's Way like the week that their album dropped.
Oh dang, man! The thing is
Dude,
like you
I
have
reached
access.
I reached out to him and was like, "Do you want to come work out at the gym?" Because he does,
Really? Yeah.
but he was like, "I'd love to, but we're literally just driving in from Denver. There's no way we can make that happen." You know,
Dang, dude, that would have been sick. That would have been one of those like, hey, this is the life I'm living right now.
I
That,
think like Whitechapel wants to come lift.
dude, I mean, I honestly say you have you have like the purpose like, hey, by the way, you guys want to come get a lift in? Let me know.
Yeah,
But I used to, I honestly I forgot about AFI. I used to be like really big into those guys, and I don't know why I didn't. I think that was like I was really when I was big time into my skating because it was kind of like AFI was just like I feel like every skater listened to those guys, and then there was a point where I just stopped listening to hardcore altogether and all just anything with a guitar riff I just stopped listening to because I was like, dude, every time I never hurt myself, but every time I was getting in, like necessarily in trouble, but I would like break a finger or fall off my board. Like every time it was because I would listen to like honestly music will make me do anything. It seems like and so I mean, and I will be honest with you, man. There was a point, especially high school through sophomore year in college. I would fight with anybody that wanted it. I was like, hey, let's go. I mean, it wasn't that I looked for it. It was just like, hey, man. I mean, I won't start it, but I'll definitely finish it. And I was enough of a knucklehead that I would keep score. Like, oh, this is my 10th fight, haven't lost. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I'm gonna try to make 50 without 50. Like I was dumb. So
I've never been in a fist fight.
keep it that way. Keep it that way.
I just don't have that. I've never had that energy. I was never hot. You know.
I mean, yeah, I just I think growing up in West Texas where I grew up at, and I mean, at the time, it was kind of like, I was one of the only black kids in a pretty much all white town with a few Hispanics. You know what I mean? I was a rodeo kid at some point. You know what I mean? And you can't necessarily, be one of the only black guys and like white girls and not catch a few awkward stares and a few people want to go fisticuffs. So I was like, well, either I'm gonna fight, or I'm gonna get my ass whipped, one of the two. And again, I think that's maybe part of the reason I didn't really know if I was stronger or not because I knew I could fight.
Yeah.
I knew I could fight, and I knew like that. I mean, I knew I could push a dude down. Like it didn't matter how big you were. Like I could push you down,
Right.
And I don't think it really translated to strength. I don't think until like I guess later on in life. I mean, my dad, because I was the shorter kid. I was I was always fast, but he would always make me do the Herschel Walker workout. So I did so many push-ups and sit-ups and everything because, well, you're short enough already. We don't need to stunt your growth.
Right.
So yeah, Guy.
You saying that you're the only black kid in town this morning while I was at the hardware store and you were waiting in line for Jay's. I thought we were doing the blackest and whitest things you could do on a Saturday.
You know what? I'll tell you what's the funniest thing. This is no lie. I was showing my girlfriend. I was like, "You'll never guess." And she's so weird. She's such a weirdo. So I'm talking to her like we're FaceTiming, and I'm showing her. I was like, "Baby, you'll never guess what's going on." She's no, tell me. I was like, "No, I'm just gonna show you." And so I put up my phone and I'm like panning it around. And she's like, "That is the whitest line I have ever seen in my life." It was all white kids,
Oh,
and
I'm
she's
sure.
like, "That." She goes, "Those are not for Jordans." She goes, "Those kids are there," and I didn't know because I was just in line. She's like, "Those are not for Jordans." I was like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, these kids are here for J's." She's like, "I'm telling you right now, as a white person, they're not there for Jordans. They're here. They got to be there for another shoe." And that's when I
And,
found out it was for the Yeezy. I was like,
but man,
"Oh, it's for the Kanye shoe." I
this
wasn't really thinking.
like a year ago, Brandon Lilly put on a status that he saw two black kids wearing Jordans beat up a white kid and take his Toms.
I'm telling you, man, like it is
I'm
so
dying.
I think the funniest thing I'm starting to see is um I saw a tweet or I heard somebody talk about it's like, oh, it was Family Guy. Um Family Guy was like, why, I think he said something like uh all the cool kids now are goes, why are the cool white kids dressing like 90s black kids? And I was like, that is spot on. And it's weird because I'm like, dude, I would never wear that. But I'm like, but you see, like, I live where we live at right now. It's a big time tourist town, but it's right next to a college town. We used to actually live in the college town, and where Texas State is. I mean, you obviously you see just all the fashionistas of the generation walking around, but you'll see these pockets of the cool white boys, the cool Asian boys, and the cool black boys, and they're all dressed the same, like these like 90s black kids. I'm like, wait, I don't even understand. Like, we made fun of those clothes in the 90s, like, but they're rocking them like, or my kids were like, Coach, we know you have probably have clothes from the 90s. You have any like old T-shirts? Or I'm like, actually, yes, I do, because my mom doesn't throw away anything, and my thing, I'm pretty sure my mom at some point is like, gone to like thrift stores and sold them. And I mean, because like, my parents, they never threw a thing away, but it's weird how like everything's kind of like circling back. um
They got rid of all my Jenkos.
oh man, between those, there was a guy in line today, this is no joke, he had a very fresh pair of Jabot jeans. I'm like, damn, I haven't seen Jabot jeans in forever. Actually, I had two pair of them. I had a green pair and a blue pair. And I remember my dad's like, you got to make a decision because I'm not spending more than $50 on jeans. I was like, well, clearly you don't plan on buying any one of these jeans, because I had the Jinkos, I had the Z Cavaricis,
Yep.
freaking cross colors, and the Pepe jeans.
And some tearaway Adidas pants.
Oh man, see, I couldn't get to Adidas, man, because I was such a Jordan head, so I couldn't wear.
I was into corn. So,
Ah, yes. I mean, of course. Why did I not? It's so weird because Corn got so big that I don't even know if I even considered them hardcore, but Corn, they always put on an amazing show.
or whatever back then.
I'll tell you what was funny. We were talking about this yesterday. I was at the movie theater. My buddy, the one I was telling about, that's a huge hardcore fan. We're at the theater, and they have a bar over there, and I always go, like, he's the head bartender, so I always go and say what's up to him after the movies. And he went to it was Slayer. I think it may have been Slayer, Lamb of God, and somebody else. It was just a few days ago, and one of the guys like, Slayer, what are you going doing? What are you doing watching Slayer? Like, that was back when I was in high school. And he was an older gent, and it's weird because people say that about, and this is my theory, but people say that about Slayer. They'll say that about, I mean, not necessarily Whitesnake. No one listens to Whitesnake that much anymore, but they'll say that about Slayer. They'll say that about they've said that about Megadeth, and But they never say that about Metallica.
No.
They'll never say it about Metallica. So I think I think it's just weird just how like your musical progression kind of determines like, well, Metallica's they're more of legends than anything. So like they don't get that old call. It's weird. I don't but music's man. But what I am gonna do is this. I'm gonna ask you my two questions, man, because honestly, like I said, I could talk all day, and I think you could talk all day. I'm gonna get to the two traditional questions. They're already preloaded, so you already know what they are. The first one is: if you were stuck on a deserted island, what is three things that you would take with you?
Well, so I'm gonna copy your answer just a little bit
All right, no, do your
because
thing.
it was a good answer. So I'm 100% sure that I know how to survive because I watch so much survival TV. I wouldn't bring a purifier because I know on the beach on a deserted island, all you gotta do is dig through the sand and you can make a little thing where it gets clean, and then you
Exactly.
put some stuff over it and the condensation rolls in. Like I already know how to make water, but I know I'm too big and fat. I'm not gonna live for very long. So even if I know how to survive, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna die. And so I'm 100% sure I would just want to have a good time.
Oh yeah.
So solar generator for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I don't need a computer. I'd rather have a phone.
All
Um,
right.
because the apps are like way more communicative to everybody that I want to see.
True, true, true.
And then the third thing that I would bring, because I'm a chubby guy, is a fan.
All right. All right. All right.
I want to be comfortable.
Hey, listen. I mean, as long as you have water, I guess. I mean, you can be a vegan. Just eat the leaves, I guess, that are there.
Figure
So
it out.
going with the
Use
solar
my own experience.
generator, a fan, and a phone.
Yeah, like a satellite phone. Or
That's
if
not bad.
there's reception, I don't need a satellite, but whatever.
Not bad. Not bad. Like yeah, I so far, like I said, people like they always ask like, well, what's a good answer? Like anything's a good answer. Like I said, I was joking around. I was like, my first one I ever had was Kelly. Kelly was my first.
Uh-huh.
He's my first guest, and he was like, I would take a rack, some weights, and a bar. I was like, all right. I mean, it is. Hey, he's a lifter. It is what it is. Me
I can make
personally,
stuff. I'll carry trees or something.
yeah, I figured it out. I was like, I'll just look up on the internet because I'll still have like internet. All right,
Yeah.
so question two, final question. Gun to your head. You have to get all the words of a song right verbatim. If you get them right, the trigger's not pulled. But if you mess up one word, they pull the trigger and you're a dead man. So, what song would you use that would save your life?
I'm a very good karaoke artist, and I'm very skilled in this field. And I'll even start it off with a little bit of this.
That sounds like that's regulators, right? Regulators.
Just hit the east side of the LBC on a mission trying to find Mr. Warren G. Seen a car full of girls, ain't no need to tweak. All you skirts know what's up with 213. So I hooked a left on 21 and Lewis. Some brothers shooting dice said, let's do this. I jumped out my ride and said, what's up? Some brothers pulled some gats, so I said, I'm stuck.
Nice. Nicely done. 20 seconds on the dot. Man, I honestly, JP, I appreciate it so much, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. When you hit me, I was like, dude, this is yes, yes, yes. I've been waiting for this, I mean, for a minute. And to be able to have you, I mean, took us a little bit to finally get it going, just schedule conflicts and everything. But I really do appreciate it, man. I honestly I cannot tell you how much this means to me. For everybody that's listening, clearly he's the most entertaining person I've had on here for sure. It's funny, the bigger the guys, the more entertaining they are. Between you and Ray Williams, I've had so much fun. Like
You
Ray,
remember? So at the Arnold, I didn't even know the meet was going on out there, and I saw a video, and I was like, "Oh, they're kicking us out of here." I was hanging out with Ed Cohen, who's kind of turned into a good friend, and I was like, they kicked us out of the thing, so I was like, "All right, let me go outside and see what's going on." And then I saw the meet was happening, and I was like, "Whoa, I want to meet some of those people. I want to meet LS and Ray and Kelly, all these people that I talk to here and there that I really want to see." And so I was like, well, I'll see if they'll let me back there in the USAPL warm up room. And so I'm like walking through the concourse, and like Steffi Cohen stops and gives me a hug, and then I like walk a little further, and I like sneak back into the thing, and me and Rob Philippus went back there and met all you guys. It was
Oh
a
yeah.
freaking blast. I was like, I've always wanted to meet all these guys, and the bigger they are, the happier they are.
I think the funniest part, man, was when you guys got back there. And I think what people don't understand in terms of this, like powerlifting, man, like because, and I can say it because they're on the outside looking in. All you see as a fanboy or fangirl is, oh, that's a USPA guy, or that's a SPF guy, or that USAPL guy. All they see is this the federations, not understanding. Like,
Right,
man, as much as they watch us, we watch each other. Number one. Number two is at this point in the game. I mean, I don't think I'm a rookie. I don't think I'm one of the greats, but I don't think I suck. And I
right.
think, I feel like I'm at least in the upper echelon of lifters right now. And I think at this level, there's no ill will. Like you want everybody to do well. You know what I mean? And it's
So
go ahead.
the guys that talk like that all suck,
Oh yeah,
and the guys that are at the very, very top all respect each other.
you have
And
to.
and if everybody just knew that and then acted accordingly and didn't have posture, then that would be fantastic.
Oh,
So I'm just glad that we got to hook up and do this. I wanted to get to know you better,
I
and now I'll
appreciate
probably
that.
talk to you all the time.
Oh
So
yeah, this is for sure. I'm definitely gonna have you back, man, and we might talk a little bit. You know what? What we'll do is this. We're gonna do something just. We're just gonna talk hardcore. We'll talk music. We can do we'll need to. I'm gonna go to Warp Tour. You go to Warp Tour. We can do a post Warp Tour podcast. I think that would be pretty sick. Try to
we'll
get
have
some
to do
footage.
one that's like all music and one that's all lifting.
Yeah, that'll be cool. I mean, the cool thing about it is I can do whatever I want. So that's
Whatever
perfect.
your show.
This is awesome, man. But JP, I honestly, man, I cannot tell you how elated I am to have had you on here. Where can people find you?
So I work in Kansas City at Strong Barbell Club. Olympic Gym Kansas City is our gym name. We just are inside that space. I don't own the gym, I just run it. And I do all my coaching out of there. You can get me on Instagram, jplifts_SBC. I've got my email addresses on there and everything. I'm with Slingshot, I'm with 8Man, all great people at those places. So the easiest way to get a hold of me is on Instagram. I respond to literally every inbox message I've ever got. So
awesome.
if you want to hit me up, hit me up. If you want to talk music, if you want to talk relationships, whatever you got, if my story's something that you want to talk about, I like to have a good time. I like to interact, and for anybody that wants to be a part of that, I invite you in.
That's awesome, JP. I appreciate you very, very much. If you need anything on my end, never hesitate to hit me up, man. Have fun at Warp Tour. Let me know how it works out, man, and we'll be getting in touch with you soon, brother. Thank you very much.
I will. Thank you, buddy.
All right, have a good one, brother.
Bye.
Well, there you have it. You guys, I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed giving it to you guys. As you can see, JP is just one of those cool kind of guys, man, that you want to hear him talk more and more. And he's a good husband, good father, awesome family man, and he's an awesome pillar of the powerlifting community. Does a lot for the sport, gives back to the sport. So I felt it was only fitting, only right that he have his story told, and that that you guys be able to kind of dig a little bit deeper into the person that he is. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you want any cool gear, you know what I'm saying, like this is my circle gear that I have going on, feel free to go to lsmcclain.com. If you need any type of coaching, lsmcclain.com. If you just want to know what's going on in my life, guess what? lsmcclain.com. That being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the corner of the circle. I've been Ellis McClain. Peace.